I've seen Rich use a skew. He could have done it with a skew.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I don't look a thing like Dave Beringer. I might talk as much, but, you know, Dave, like we talked earlier, Dave was scheduled to do a demo today, and he begged off because his work is just, you know, got him swamped. So we're going to talk about shape and form. You know, shapes. Shapes are basically, you know, spheres and, you know, different shape or different, let me get my notes. I've got here sphere, egg, cylinders, and what I would call a pointed form. And I don't know what to call it, but it's like if you're, if you're turning
The throttle.
there you go. If you're doing spindle work, like that point at the top of a couple of coves, or at the bottom of a couple of beads, we can do, you know, another shape would be a cube, and I thought we couldn't do a cube on the lathe until I saw the gallery today. And did anybody see a square turning out there? Mm-hmm. Amazing, isn't it? Jeff, where's Jeff? There he is, hiding back in the corner. Jeff does a lot of ornamental work, and I don't know if you all saw that London Tower clock, or whatever, and he informed me out there that the bottom is turned on an ornamental lathe. So, wow. Just, you know, just blew my whole thing about we can't do cubes on a lathe. Anyway, what I want to get to is how we're going to get a form with these basic shapes. And there is going to be a quiz at the end of this. I turned this in January of 15. And it's been sitting in my shop ever since. I had to take about an inch of dust off the top to bring it today. I knew something was wrong with it. I didn't know what was wrong with it. See if I can get some light on this here. That's okay. That'll go right there, Pat. Here. That shows up. I didn't know what was wrong with it, but I didn't like it. It's a beautiful piece of wood. So I sat down the other day when I was preparing for this, and I made myself a critique. So after I'm done talking today, I'm going to pass this around. You guys can look at it, figure out what's wrong with it and how I could have made it better. And hopefully after we talk for an hour or so here, you'll all come up with the right answers, or at least what I think are the right answers. Okay, so this whole thing started because, well, actually in my mind, this whole thing started when we had Don Derry here. I saw Don Derry in North Carolina at the symposium. He had an hour demo on shape and form, and it's like, wow, that'd be good for the club because, you know, we all have trouble. I've got a few things here. You know, I'll bet a few of us have made one of these. That's kind of the traditional beginner wood turner's dog dish bowl. Sally got this one at the, incidentally, neither one of these are mine. Sally got this at the symposium at the $5 bowls or whatever they were. And she liked the color of the wood. It's a piece of citrus. And it's a unique shape. It's got nice straight lines. We don't see straight lines in wood turning. Would I do it different? Yes, I would, but it's different. This is actually a professional turner that made this. My sister was on a cruise in Alaska, and in a gift shop, somebody was selling these. There's a 15 on the back. I don't know if it was was made in 15 or was $15. You know, it's like, so are these shapes wrong? No. You know, if you intend to make a shape like this, and you, I mean, that's actually a pretty successful shape. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you intended to do. Just because the art critics all think it should be, if you're doing this for you or you're doing this for somebody that wants one, that's wonderful. The problem with this and this, and I can pass these around and you can feel them, is they are hard to do. If I was to duplicate this right now and make a proper, you know, even wall thickness form out of it, it is hard to do. And as you feel that, you'll feel how the inside's round and the outside is squared off. And anybody that picks this up, you know, the nice thing about wood turnings is you can feel them, you know. A regular bowl, you know, it's nice to hold. The, you know, in ancient times, they didn't have tables to sit on. They held them in their hand and they ate. But anyway, just pass those things around and give you a little something to do while I'm chatting. So anyway, getting back to Don Dairy, we brought him in here to Pittsburgh. And the first thing when we had the class, the first thing he had to do, or he had us do, was turn a sphere by hand with no calipers, no measuring devices other than this. You know, so I said, okay, you go like this and you go like this and start turning. Now, if you want to do that, I'll give you a couple little hints he told us. You turn to your weak side first.
Which direction?
So I'm right-handed, which means this was on the lathe. I turned the left side first because this side is easy to control and easy to, and the left side you have to think about because you're doing it the opposite direction from what it's. The other thing he showed us was, and when we first started turning this, is that the, what do we call this? It's not a tenon because we didn't use it for that. Anyway, the shaft, let's call it. Make the shaft the same size on both sides. And that helps you visualize this. It's hard to visualize coming around, you know, like if you had a big shaft here and just a little out here, it's hard to visualize where that curve would go. Is that a pretty good sphere? I think it is. And, you know, are there high and low spots? Yeah. We have a guy in our club here that really got into doing spheres. Dave, tell us a little bit about making this and how Dave has all the proper tools and.
Well, I did that one with a Carter spear jig, and that's where instead of holding it between centers, I do have it chopped up on the one side and nibble away enough.
So you had it chucked here and the jig goes around.
And the jig goes around, and you do both sides of it, but you finish off your tailstock side as a perfect sphere, and then you have a nub on your chuck side, like you have on yours.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can put it into a cup, into a vacuum chuck, or whatever when you turn it around, and take the other nib off. And it's an easy way of doing a sphere. I don't know, 45 minutes maybe, total time to do one, okay? There's a lot of different ways to do spheres, that's one of them. For a, you know, kind of close to idiot proof, okay? But you can still mess up. No question about
But,
it.
you know, and if Dave doesn't mind, I'll pass these two around. I'm pretty, you know, for a hand thing. I was gonna do one for you here today, and I thought, I'm not gonna be able to duplicate that. I'm not gonna embarrass myself. You know, like,
Remember, wasn't it Tchaikovsky that was here, and he did some spheres, or one of the presenters, and his weren't perfect.
Right.
Who cares? You know, as long as it's close, it's pretty cool.
But the difference is, Dave said this took him maybe 45 minutes. I worked half a day on this thing with help from, what's his name? Dick, yeah, Don Deary, that's it. Thanks, guys. You all understand. I often say when the gray hair starts growing, it just sucks the gray matter with you.
I'll take it.
So, anyway, you can see the difference between a pretty good sphere and a darn near perfect sphere. I mean, I think we could play pool with that dotted one that Dave made. So, yes, Linda.
So I've done a sphere, but I use a little ring or something.
That's right, you did a demo here on
Yeah, the
sphere.
ring. And
Yeah.
that tells you where it's high, and then you just take that off. It doesn't tell you what
And
it's roughly.
And Linda's, she did a demo here, 2 years ago, I guess?
Yeah.
And, yeah, she did hers a lot quicker than I did mine, too, and a lot better. So, but at any rate, Becky, you had a question?
The way I've gone around, I can show a left-handed turner how to turn it off. The way you get around that is have two tenons on either end. And you can turn it to make your one half curve, and then flip it around and do the other half.
There's an idea.
Then you don't have to worry about going left.
Yep. John?
Can you pull the mic over a little so we can hear it better?
Oh, is that better?
Oh, that's a lot.
Okay. I had it there to start with, I thought it was too loud, so I'm sorry. Okay, anyway, we go from spheres to making eggs. Because, you know, an egg is kind of a, I don't know, a sphere, you don't use a whole lot in wood turning. We don't see a whole lot of perfect round things. But we see a lot of these, you know, olive forms, different, well, I guess we see them in olive form, that's all. Can anybody tell me what the problem is with this one?
Good point.
Oh, yeah.
Been there, done that.
This is, I don't know anybody that can turn an egg freehand and not make it pointy. It just, I don't know why, it just happens that way. And I thought this was a pretty good egg until I looked at, yeah, an egg. I told you guys you had to help out on this. So anyway, I started a little project where I'm doing a basket full of eggs representing people I've taken classes off of. And so I wanted to make them egg size. And so what I did was I just took an egg, used my, yes, there is somewhere. You all know what this is? If you don't, you should. If you want to copy something, you just press those fingers down on there and you've got an inside and an outside of that. So I did that to an egg, and I made myself a template. And then I had some eggs that I wanted to have carvings on the outside of, and I made one 1/4 inch bigger. So I've got templates of the outside of an egg. And when I'm turning an egg, if I wanted the exact size of that, it's an easy thing to hold that up right at the turning, and I've got the exact size. If I want it bigger, I hold it back here and sight through it. So, no matter what shape you want to make, I mean, I use this for eggs. I made, because some of my eggs are hollow because I pierce them. So I actually, that's okay, we're good back.
Zoom in on it.
I actually, or I could just go like this. I don't know if you can see it backwards. Anyway, you get the idea. This is 16 smaller than this one, so I can turn the inside of the egg. I make it like a box. Put a piece on, put a tenon on this side, a tenon on this side to grab the chuck, cut it, and then I can make hollow this side and curve a little bit the outside, turn it around and do the same thing with the other side. Do that. So I've got the inside of the egg is 1/16 of an inch smaller than the outside, and then when glue the two halves together and turn the outside. So templates, you know, anytime you have a shape you want to duplicate, you know, make a template. You don't have to make them out of plastic like I did. Make them out of cardboard, cut them with scissors. Like I say, if you want to make it bigger than your template, hold it up here and eyeball it. If you want to make it smaller, hold it down there, eyeball it. Just yes.
Relative to the point, us all making pointy eggs, one of the things I remember from Don Dairy is when you're looking down on the labor, everything is horizontal, so the piece actually looks taller than it really is. But when you move it vertically, you see that it's pointed.
Very good. So, some of you might not have heard that or didn't quite get it, and that doesn't only apply to a piece like that. Let's take a hollow form. You've got that hollow form on there just before you hollow it out, and you've got it shaped down to about here because that's where your chuck's going to grab it. And you look at it and you think, oh, that's a pretty good shape. Take your chuck and everything off the lathe. Don't take this out of the chuck. Take it off, sit it up here. Now does it still look good? And if it doesn't look quite right, set it like this. Because if it doesn't look right in all the different positions, something's wrong. Now, what could be wrong? Shape itself? You know, well, let's take that egg that we're talking about, you know. Okay, something's wrong with that. Terry knows exactly what it is right off. I didn't, but, you know. So then you know where to fix it. The other thing you could, when you have that piece, so you have this piece up here, and I don't know, something's wrong. Well, flat spots and bumps are a problem. If you take a popsicle stick and ride it over that, I'm trying to find a flat spot for you, a straight stick, just rubbing it over there, is going to find any flat spots or bumps. It just magnifies it. Another thing you can do while it's on the lathe, and you're looking to see, okay, do I need another cut here or not? There's a glue stick. And if I had done a glue stick on this egg, and I'll pass this around because this really shows up well. There's a hole right here. So I would have known that, you know, it's a bad curve. Our curves want to be what they call fair curves. You don't want to be going like this with curves. You want them blending into one another. In the case of, well, We'll talk about an OG in a minute. An OG goes both ways, but on something like this, pass it around quick. Because that, if you bend that stick over there, you'll see, and that would have shown me right away what was wrong with that turning. So, since I brought up OG, an OG, anybody knows anything about electronics, is a sine wave, basically. You know, the Greeks had it, and I don't think I brought anything with an OG curve in it. Oh, yes. No, all sorted. Glenn, that doesn't really show up. We'll draw one. Why don't we switch to this one, Pat?
Okay.
I think it'll show up better. So an OG curve, not bad, Dave. You know, this is like if you know about electronics, AC voltage, the voltage goes up and goes the other way. That's what they call sine waves. The Greeks didn't know anything about electronics. They just came up with this OG curve. We use this a lot in, let's say, a platter, and I'm going to try and draw this the other way so you guys see it right. So that's the top of a platter, and that's going to be the, of course, any other side goes the other way. But, so that's a very typical platter. So we use that OG. Now, the problem with using an OG is you have to understand proportions. So let's say we wanted the OG to cross over there instead of here. That's halfway, that's about 3/4. So then this form is going to have to go like that. So, see the proportion here, you have, let's say, 3 here and 1 here, and of course we're not to scale. So you want to be like 3 times higher here than you do here. That gives you your pleasing, fair curve. If you tried to do this, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but that's not it doesn't, the transition isn't quite there. Just a couple of and that's from, that's not from wood turning, that's from Greek architecture. So back when I was doing cabinet work, I read a little bit about that. So that's a combination of a couple of shapes we can use for a form. Another good one, the ancient Hawaiians, they made bowls for a young one when they were born, or just starting to eat on their own. It was a calabash bowl. And of course they chopped them out by hand. They didn't have a wood lathe. They burned or whatever to get the inside out, did whatever they had. But this basic form,
Did it break?
okay, it's alive. See if I can pick up this form. Have any of you ever tried to look at a screen when you're doing something? It's totally opposite of. Okay, can you pick up a little, it's called a curve in here? Maybe this one will show it better.
Oh, you can see it, Dave.
Put it against the paper here. There, that's showing up now. So anyway, that's a Hawaiian traditional shape. This outside shape is really easy to turn. It's a matter of just going like this. You know, it's all in your hips. To follow that on the inside, ideally, you want the same thickness all the way through. It's easy to follow. It's a difficult form to finish on the inside, but it really turns out nice. The other thing is, they have a round bottom, but they sit there because they're balanced. The Hawaiians didn't have tables to eat off of. They set them in the sand, or they set them on their lap. But just another form, a combined form.
Dave,
Yes,
go back to that mellow that you had there, you said.
yes.
You said that's not a good shape.
Oh, yeah, I like this shape.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, what's wrong with the shape?
Yeah,
You put it up on the top and I didn't see any wrong with it.
That one I like. I was, what I was referring to there was to look at it, do you like it like that? Do you like it like, I mean, I like it every way I put it. I don't know that I'll ever do another one that pleasing to me. You know, we are in an era right now where this is what we are used to seeing. We're used to seeing shapes like this. For bowls, we're used to seeing a bottom like that. Maybe I'll work that out. Maybe a little foot. You get back around, this book was 1990, well no, this one. Yeah, chap, 1999. So, you know, that was real popular. Chapman's a British turner from the UK somewhere. Raffin did a lot of the same work, also from England. You know, they did this, I don't know, it looks like they forgot to cut the tenon off to me. This was an accepted art form back then. I haven't seen anything like this in a symposium for years now. But if we were 20 years ago sitting here in this meeting, they'd be teaching this form to you as an accepted form. So styles do change. You know, a big controversy sometimes is, you know, whether to make a foot or not to make a foot. So, yeah, again, what do you like? But if we're going to talk about a foot, you know, a bowl typically, to look nice, should sit on like a third or less. In order to get that curve. To my eye, a bowl looks nice when you're looking at an angle like this, and you don't really see the flat spot on the bottom. I probably have something here that's...
Zoom in on that a little bit.
Ideally, when you're looking at it here, you look down at it, and all you see is round. If I look down at that, I can see the foot. If I want a foot, that's fine. If I don't have a foot, I shouldn't see the flat spot. Now, the reason a bowl can sit on that small area like that is because whatever we put in a bowl is, you know, it can't sit up here, it just slides down. You know, it's not like everything's going to sit out on the rim. So the bowl can sit on a smaller surface. If we're eating out of a bowl, whatever we put in there is centered. You know, we could actually eat out of those Hawaiian bowls if we had something that was fluid. And it would just, the weight would center on that, and it would sit there. If we're doing a foot on a platter, we don't want that small thing in the center. Because, incidentally, this is a Glenn Lucas original. that, you know, when you're putting something on a platter, sure, it might be in the center. But let's say you load that thing up with cookies at a party, and nobody liked the cookies that were over here. It's not gonna tip over. Or if you're using it for a dinner plate, and you're cutting your meat here, you know, you can cut way out here, it's not gonna tip over. You know, I'm pushing pretty hard on there before it's moving. So on a platter, you probably want 2/3. You know, sticking with the rule of thirds. Well, let me back, I didn't talk about the golden mean, let me back up a little bit. A lot of you have heard that golden mean. It's 1, 2, and I've got to read this because I don't pay attention to it, 1.618. Back in my days when I really believed that one more tool would make you a better turner. That's not true, guys. I bought these golden mean calipers. CW, do you have these? I figured. And with these golden mean calipers, you know, you can measure, this is the one measurement, this is the 1.618, blah, 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 whatever it is. That translates to like 3/5. Nobody in this room, I think, can hold this up and say, okay, what is a fifth of this? Turn it into 3-to-1. And that is close enough for us, guys. So, you know, I've got one part here, 2, 3. Glenn Lucas did this without measuring. He's done thousands of these. You know, so it really does, I guess what I'm getting at is it really doesn't matter if you had a foot that's 1/3 here and 2 out, you wouldn't do it on a platter because of tipping. But you're still maintaining that 3-to-1 ratio. So I took a class with Glenn Lucas, and this is the one he turned in the class. And so I bribed him afterwards.
For how much?
$60.
Tried to get one of yours.
You know, it's a $5 platter and a $50 signature. But, yeah, it's a hobby I like to collect.
The thing about that, if you buy the piece, you can learn so much from looking at it later. You'll remember
Good point.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
I've got a box by Rafta, and I keep looking at it, and it's like learning something all over. It's a good thing to buy.
You got a Raffin piece, wow. Richard Raffin still, my first symposium ever was in Cincinnati. 2, 4, 6, probably 8 years ago. And I sat at the banquet with Richard Raffin. And as far as I was concerned at the time, I was fairly new to, I call it hobby turning, because I did some turning for a living before that, associated with cabinet work. But, you know, I had read Raffin's books, and as far as I was concerned, he was up here as far as turning, and to sit there and talk to him like I'm talking to anybody was an amazing experience. Okay, well, anyway, that's my take on the foot, on the rim of the bowl. These top rims, and this is something that, okay, let's call them the professionals, the art collectors and all those people. They talk about what your eye does. Your eye tends to finish these curves, follow these curves. And that's why, like I talked about, that little glue stick with the, stick them over there. That's some of them stick on the finger somewhere. That glue stick on that egg. You know, I knew something was wrong with that. When I put that glue stick on, you know, my eye caught it, but I didn't know what it was. A lot of times your eye will say something's wrong, you rub your hand over it, and your hand will pick it up, especially if you run your hand over it quick. If you run it over slow, if you just go like this fast, it'll pick up some of the imperfections. Okay, following that eye thing, what they tell us is that an inward sloping lip on a bowl takes your eye into the bowl. So if you have something that you want to set off, a figure in the grain, or in this case, a little pattern. This is a Linda Ferber piece. I just spoke with Linda up at the last symposium, and this is a piece. So, you know, I'm guessing, but her thought was, this is my height, this is what I want to show off here. So I'm going to slope this in so your eye wanders into that. But, you know, Linda is fairly new to turning. Linda, how long do you think she's been wood turning?
A good while. Well, let's see. I've known her since about 2000.
Okay, so she's not as new as I thought.
Yeah, but she works at the office all the time.
Yeah, she works for AW, and but you know, I don't know that all that went through her mind, but it sure came out with this. While we're talking about people that have are different shapes and things, we're talking about a sphere now. When you're putting using a sphere in a turning, it doesn't have to be like this. You know, here is a that's an arc of a really big circle. But you can see the high spot now. See the high spot in the center there? If I hold it straight, it'll show up better. This is a Kurt Herzog pen. Kurt does thousands of pens. This is actually, I'm going to pass this around because this is a snakeskin. This is something you really, it's an interesting pattern. It's a really nice shape. It's nice and even. I've got another pen here that was given me by a friend. And it's got I bet you he didn't know he did this when he made it. It hit that golden mean perfectly on the high spot. Len, did you know you did that? Or did you? Okay, well.
2/3.
It's a nice little piece of walnut that I think I know where he got it. And I just want to, they're two pens I'm really proud of, and they've never been used. I just keep them on my display case. So, Glenn, you're right next to Kurt Herzog.
Maybe in a display case.
Okay. Anybody look at those two pens when they come around, and I want you to tell me that one isn't as good as the other. I mean, you can't, they're both top quality pens. Okay, going back to that bowl lip, I talked about the inward sloping lip. The other thing is, you know, a nice rounded lip, something comfortable to hold. The sharp edges, this is a piece I was going to do some carving on, so I left the sharp edge on top. If this was a finished piece, I wouldn't care for it because of the sharp edge. I'm not going to say it hurts your fingers, it's uncomfortable to hold. So, you know, when you're turning a piece, you know, take it off the lathe, leave it in the chuck, of course, and fondle it a little bit. It makes a huge difference. So, One of the other things I wanted to talk about on the shapes and forms and things is function versus art. Now on that bowl I showed you, wherever it was, that one with that little stem on it, that's strictly a piece of artwork. You're gonna put that in a case somewhere, and you know, you can't put something in it. If you put it on your table and fill it up with M&Ms, the first person that digs into it's gonna knock it over. So if you're gonna do a piece of artwork, you can throw some of these 1/3 things out the window. This, incidentally, does anybody know what these are good for? These hollow forms.
Looking at,
Hmm?
looking at her.
Yeah, they're dust catchers. They're not good for anything but looking at. But you know, that thing is sitting on a couple little points there. If I cut that off and made that a bowl, it would be totally useless except as an art piece. So you have to keep in mind what your function is going to be for it. Okay. Jimmy Clues was here a few years back. We're going back to the bowl lip here, and this was actually a platter that we did, and I didn't bring a piece with me, but he actually did a little bit of an OG on the, I don't have to draw one, you guys remember, that was real shallow OG. And his thing was, when you hold that platter, you can hold it with one hand because your thumb rides in it. So that's another one of your function things to think about. Yeah. Okay, so we're at a point now where while I'm setting up here to do something, anybody want to?
Dave,
Yes.
you didn't tell me anything about that shadow. I was going to say, you know, there's a number of ways, you know, to cheat that help you get to the shape that you're looking at for a sphere or an egg or something of that nature. Where you can, if you draw your shape on a piece of paper and shine a light from above, you create a shadow and you cut to that line, and it works out pretty well. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I've never done that, but
If, like, put your whiteboard up there.
yeah, that'll work.
Okay. And if you got a line down the center, line it up with your headstock, tailstock, okay? And if that goes in the middle, that would go, that platform would sit right on top of your banjo there, not on the tool rest,
Right.
okay? And you
do.
You can attach that so you don't move it, okay, in between the blades or the bedways. And then if you have your shape drawn on that piece of paper and you shine your light, you're going to get a shadow. And all you do is cut to that line.
So what Dave's saying, and what piece did I make that off of?
Big egg.
The egg. Okay, is the egg back here? Yeah. So what Dave is saying, see if I can make that work, is that if you have that line drawn on a piece of white paper or something down there, and then you're turning this piece, as you're turning it,
You're going to uncover the line.
you're gonna, actually, yeah, it went that way. Yeah, so you turn until you see the line, right? Everybody got that? Good hint.
Bowl will be in the road.
Pardon,
You're
John?
looking at the line of, you can't see it, and the bowl will be in the road.
Well, but what he's saying is
You're on the
you,
other side, you're looking at the line on your side of the fence, okay? Dave's hand's just in the way, that's all.
oh, would you put it on this side?
Yeah, you just draw out
Okay.
whatever you want, okay? And make sure it's 7.
You can tell this is new for me too, so. Okay, there. Cool.
The light needs to be a little more center, but you get the idea.
Yeah. I'm not, I'm looking at the wrong side. I'm looking down, I want to look down here. This backward stuff is really, okay, you all get the idea. It's like this. And the shadow is going to come, and you cut until you see the line, right, Dave?
Yeah.
And as soon as you see the line, you know you're at the shape. And of course, you can move your head back and forth to see, you know, you're seeing the line here, you're not seeing it there. I had heard about that and I never done it, so I never thought of it. What I thought I'd do here now, since it'd be a shame not to turn something, is just throw a blank on here and we'll do a ball bottom to see what we can come up with a shape. Come on. So one of the little tricks I learned, I haul it backwards. I haul it in reverse. And obviously it's different than that. So if you hold the lock button, mine's more convenient because it's right here, and I give that thing a tap, I have never had that come loose, and I don't use my set screws. That was Mike Tchaikovsky. No, who did? Don Gary. He turns in reverse. And, you know, normally when you're turning down here, and it's always pulling the chuck tighter. So, I'm not telling you not to use a set screw. Just because I don't doesn't mean you shouldn't, because they're here. And that's an extra safety margin. That's sort of like always putting your tailstock up even though you don't have to have it. But what I'm saying on that is, it's good to have that thing tight. It doesn't take any more pressure to pop that off than it did to put it on. One paramedic came up with this great idea that you have to turn and turn and turn and turn. Mine, I just pull a pin and slip it. Okay, we'll do a little, we're gonna find out. This is something you're gonna learn next month. Safety centers. And before I didn't even know what they were before I took the class with Derek. And that's all he uses. Let me put a center on that. The nice thing about the safety center is that if you do get a catch or even a little bit of a grab, it will excuse me, I can't talk and work at the same time. So if this is spinning and you get a little bit of a catch, it'll just stop. It's great for teaching spindle turning because it's great for teaching the skew because that, you know, dreaded skew that gives it big spirals, you don't get them on that. So what I'm going to do here is just give you a little primer on a bowl bottom. We're going to make a shallow bowl. Since it's shallow, we're going to do a recess on the bottom there instead of a tenon. I did read yesterday. I forgot my face shield. Yes, Paul?
Dave, I got a question. When you were showing the arc of a snakeskin pin, what kind of gauge are you using? I've never seen it with a center point on that gauge like that.
Pass that. I should have passed him around.
Where do you get something like that?
CW, where'd you get yours? I don't remember where I got it.
Why what?
5 caliber? Oh. I guess you could Google it. There's something on there about it.
Ron Brown's best has a set. They're made out of like some kind of plastic.
Yeah.
They're about $50, I think.
Yeah,
There's
that,
3 of them.
the problem is they're not, they're not cheap. When you guys mind going back to the equipment room and grab me a face shield? I forgot to bring mine.
Yeah, you can also look for Fibonacci gauge.
Pardon?
Fibonacci gauge.
That's the other name.
Easy for you to say.
That's the other name for it.
A Fibonacci number is 1 plus the number before it. Yeah, that's a Fibonacci number.
Okay.
So it's their Fibonacci number. The gold is Fibonacci.
Okay.
Hey, I just,
I don't know how I ever got this far in life without knowing that term.
My electrician turned my electricity off to put my dust collection system, just went to 0. Is that bad?
Nobody knows what those numbers are. They're paramedic secrets.
what would you mean calculate? What would you mean calculate?
I wonder if I could share something too.
Yes, please.
Dave Berenger had set up easy shape as a catenary, which is the shape that a cable or a chain takes when it's hanging. And so we see them all the time. We can see them in the cables that are hanging in the room. So I keep a piece of chain on my pegboard, and I'll just sometimes I'll string to it, to a different shape, and then I'll use that as a shape for a pole or a pole.
Did everybody catch that? Because that was something I wanted to talk about and I forgot to bring it. A piece of chain, like the pull chain from your paddle fan or whatever, you hold that up between 2 points and it gives you that nice perfect curve. And if you go out here, it gives you a shallower curve. You get out here, you get a vase shape. And it's another thing that you can hold that up there. If you wanted to make a template, you could stick a piece of paper to the wall, tack it on there, and draw it on there.
You can do it with a piece of cord.
Piece of string
Yeah.
might not be quite as, because the string might have.
Well, if you get a
a thick enough piece of cord or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
if you Google golden mean calipers DIY, there's a thing on Instructables, how to make a golden mean caliper for $1.
There you go.
Templates, and you basically take some, you know, the things that you pull paper together with, spread out. That's that and a piece of cardboard and it's done.
I can guarantee I spent more than that on that thing that came from Australia or somewhere.
I made it.
Okay, so I know this is basic for some of you, but you know, it never hurts to review some of them. I'm gonna clean off this side. I'm gonna make a couple of cuts here to get the basic shape of a bowl. And then I'm gonna make a little bit of a recess in there. And then we'll fine tune it. So, I have a stop on my tool rest that fits me, but I want to cut on center. So this lathe is the same lathe as mine, but something's different that I had to change the height on it. But at any rate, I'm going to be doing my cutting on center. Everybody is different. Where I set mine is going to be different for other people. I tend to hold my tool down on my hip. A lot of people hold their tool on here. Whatever you're comfortable with. There's no right or wrong in this. Well, there is a right or wrong. If you happen to get like this, because I told one student in the class, whatever's comfortable for you, and he was holding it like this and getting catches all the time because, you know, you're not using the bevel. What I'm going to do here first, I'm just going to do a couple scraping cuts to clean off the rough edge, and then I'll do a bevel riding cut here. Turn the speed down. I didn't even look what bevel I'm on, but I'm going to turn pretty slow because I took the shield off because I knew I was going to be doing very little turning. The safety center that we're doing, you saw what happened there. That's the purpose of that. Is when I take too big a cut, it stops. With the safety centers, they won't dig a hole. Before I started using them, I was using these
Step center.
step centers. I had one of these for my class for Derek, and he goes, I'd rather you didn't use that. I said, okay, why not? He said, well, it's going to dig a hole, and then you're just sitting on the flat here. And it does. I look back, every time I used one of these teeth just cut in when they spin, and it digs a hole. Now, I still use them a lot, you know, but you just have to keep in mind that it's going to dig a hole and then it's going to sit on this big flat spot. Well, you'll see it later. You know, I already stopped that a couple of times, and it's not going to dig a hole in there. So like I said, this is scraping cut. We're just cleaning his face off a little bit. You don't really have to do it. I happen to know, because this is my live center and my chuck, I know that that's going to give me the right diameter for, no, it's not. That's going to be the right diameter if I do a 10. So I'm gonna measure, my jaws where they're gonna go inside, and they're open a little bit. That's 2 5/8. So at 2 5/8, I'm going to put a mark out here at 1 5/16. Well, now that took me an extra second to do, as opposed to, and I didn't even bring them with me, but you've all seen the straight calipers, that we put them in there and we say, okay, make sure you only hit this side, because if you hit this side, it's going to come up and smack you in the face. How many people have had that happen? Okay, only 2 of us. The rest of you are lying. If it hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen. So you're not going to be paying attention. That thing's going to. But if you measure that distance in half, you get a point on it. If I'm on a screw center, I can use my printer calipers, divide it in half right here, and I can put this in the center and then mark the outside with that. But if you do the half measurement, it's a safety thing. You're not going to get a pair of calipers in your eyes. So there's my that's where I want my recess for my chuck. I've got a parting tool. It's going to go in there a little bit, 1/8 of an inch. That's an old Craftsman. Find something white here. An old Craftsman, whatever, that I ground into the right angle for the dovetail jaws on my chuck. It's like a negative ring scraper. I've got it ground down a little bit that way. That's going to give me my perfect angle in there I need. Little homemade tool out of, it could be, I think, doesn't even, I mean, that's carbon steel. So it can just be a piece of junk anything. An old screwdriver would do the job. Just on my grinder. There's not much pressure on there. Should I have a handle on here? If you want, you know, I didn't feel it was unsafe doing it that way. Clean it up a little bit. So now, even if I make a mistake and tear something up, I can use that. That part's done. That's a really shallow recess. I'm not going to let a beginner use that shallow recess like that, because, text could be a problem. When I get my truck up there, I'll show you how I can use that shallow recess, or why I can use it. So, while I'm in this position, all I'm going to do is knock this corner off and get a basic shape. Now, you notice I didn't bother going across like this and make it perfectly round first, because I'm going to take that corner off anyway. So I got that shape off. Take a little bit of this corner off. A little bit of this corner off. And you notice I wasn't being careful about what kind of cut I was making. I wasn't worried about riding the bevel because I'm just removing wood. So right now, we can refine this after we turn around the chuck. I want to clean this up and get a pretty good shape out of it. And I'm just doing a straight cut. Is that a pretty good ball? That's what I want, right. I've got square stock there, that's not gonna work. It's all torn grain because all I did was that scrape cut on it. So now we're gonna try and make a better ball. I'm doing, whoop. Okay, now I got rid of torn grain. And I'm sure you all noticed that really awkward cut that I was making way down here that was, what I was doing down there was riding the bevel. And by doing that, very carefully when you're riding that bevel, then you can roll in and you can start making this cut. And I'm sure some of you noticed a little bit of a catch here. This is really a hard way to do it. The tailstock's in the way. You can't get a bevel riding cut without going down there. The only other way I could do it would be to be cutting way up center. Again, really hard to do. So when I'm wanting to do that side like that, I'm going to clean this up a little straight. That's going to be the bottom, the base. I'm going to hold the handle way down here. I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to grab a bigger guide so you can see it better. I'm going to hold the handle way down, which puts it at an angle. I still want to be cutting on, and this is a shear scrape that I'm demonstrating. So, and with my body, I'm going back and forth. And I had a bunch of them around it. You see the little curls coming off of there. So, shear scrape actually does cutting. When you're getting little curlicues off of here versus dust you would get off a scrape, and get, see the dust coming off of a scrape. So if you're getting those little curlicues, you're getting a pretty good cut. But with a shear scrape, you have to keep moving. I think that's what I should have. See if I did what I wanted. Okay, what I wanted to show you was a flat spot. Okay, I got a little bit of a flat spot on there. So, this is where your popsicle stick comes in handy. And a lot of you can see that flat spot on there. So it's kind of exaggerated. If it was a really short one, take the other two sides off. So, a little bit of basic bolt turning. Anybody else questions on anything else? I mean, you know, I knew this was going to be a short demo, and I'm counting on you guys to kick in on it, but you know, you don't need to see me sitting up here turning bowls. I will pass that around, and wherever that popsicle stick is, you can see the differences on it. We'll start here instead. So anyway, I hope it was helpful. So we got a social hour now. After we have our raffle, we can have